Oh, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the Good Feed. Today I want to talk to you about frogs, but not just any frogs, the best frogs. Frogs that have made my top 10 frogs list. But before I get into it, I just want to thank everyone that's made it to this point in the video. If you've watched all the way up to this point, please comment something down below, like, what's your favorite frog? Let me know, and I'll be sure to read it sometime down along the ways of my life. Now, let's get into it. Number 10. The wood frog. The wood frog, also known as Animalia cordata amphibia anura renini lenthuminus, is a frog that is mostly located in North America territories. And what's interesting about this frog is that it actually can freeze its blood or let its blood freeze when it's cold outside and then bury itself just under the topsoil in areas and lay dormant there. And what's cool about that is it just hibernates like that, just right under the ground. It's a brown looking creature. It's not super slimy, it's a little slimy looking. So I'm sure if you were holding one of these little guys, you might slip out of your hands or jump out because, it's a frog. Anyways, moving on. Number 9, the Xenopus. The Xenopus, belonging to the Animalia cordata amphibia anura pedede xenophene Xenopus class, is also commonly known as the clawed frog. These guys are very squishy, egg-like shaped creatures, and they're also very brown, mucously looking. And what's cool about them is that they actually have webbed feet to help them move around in the waters and move quickly through the water to not be eaten by a predator. And I think that is very, very neat. Awesome. Next on the list is number 8, the tomato frog. The tomato frog, belonging to the Animalia cordata amphibia anura mitochondria dysune Discophus, are one of the 3 species of Discophus. What's crazy about tomato frogs is their backs look pretty similar to tomatoes. But don't be fooled, they would not taste very good if you put them on your hamburger. So don't do that if you ever see one of these in real life. What's crazy about the tomato frog is that they have a lifespan from around 6 to 8 years, which means when you were born, if your parents got a tomato frog, it would still have been alive until you were about 6 to 8 years old, which is right about the time that you're in the middle of primary school. Moving on. Number 7, Rhacophorus. Rhacophorus belongs to the shrub frog family. It's this green guy, and it's also classified under the Animalia cordata vertebrata amphibia Lysiambula unuma neobacteria raphinonoid raffininae raffininoris genus class. These guys are they look like your stereotypical green frog creatures. They are commonly in India, Japan, Madagascar, Africa, and Southeast Asia. And what's wild about them is that they're among the anurans, commonly known as the flying frog. But don't be fooled by this. They can't actually fly. They can just sort of slow their fall to the ground and glide a bit. They can fall with style. Great. Moving on. Number 6. The glass frog, also known as the leaf frog, belonging to Animalia cordata amphibia anura neobacteria centrovoid hemersherman ceneraloid elephroninoid. They are located usually in northern South America. And they are very glass-like creatures, as the name suggests. They are sort of translucent. And what's crazy about them is if you saw them out in the wild randomly in northern South America, you might mistake them for a piece of squishy glass on the ground. But don't do that and accidentally install it into your house, silly, because then you would have just put a frog into your house. And I don't think that you want that. Awesome. Moving along, number 5, Mantella. Mantella, belonging to the Animalia cordata amphibia anura mantella, also known as golden frogs or Malgazini poison frogs, are poisonous frogs that are located generally in the island of Madagascar off of Africa. These frogs generally are red looking, and they're also very, very scary because, as suggested previously, they are poisonous. And poison can be very, very bad if you have any of it inside of your body because it could hurt you. So if you ever have poison in your body, make sure to get it out of your body so you're not hurt. Moving on. Number 4, the fire-bellied frog. Fire-bellied frogs are these crazy creatures that surprisingly do not actually have fire in their bellies. They belong to the Animalia chordata amphibia anura bombiniroid bombinina genus. And what's awesome about them is that while their bellies do not actually have fire in them, they are very red, and the redness looks very, very unique to them. So if you could pick one up and flip it onto its belly to maybe give it a little belly rub, it would be red. And red is one of the neatest colors. What's also crazy is that sometimes they can have a yellow belly. But don't be confusing them with yellow-bellied toads or yellow-bellied frogs, because that is not what they are. No, they're fire-bellied frogs. And when in captive, they can live up from 10 to 15 years, which is pretty wild because 15 years is just about smack dab in the middle of a normal human's teenage life. And what's wild about that is that means that they would only be 1 year younger than having the ability to get a license. And that would be pretty silly, wouldn't it? Looking over and seeing a frog driving a car. All right, moving along. Number 3, the poison dart frog. The poison dart frog is actually one of my favorite frogs on this list, and if I had the ability on my own to pick which order these frogs went in, I would probably put it at number 1. But alas, I don't have the final say, so it's at number 3. The poison dart frog has these black-like splotches all over its body and a bright, vibrant yellowish or bluish color for the rest of its body, and it's very, very cool. What's crazy about the poison dart frog is that it's very, very toxic. And we all love a toxic frog now, don't we? Belonging to the Animalia chordata amphibia anura neuroframina dinner class, these frogs are generally very small little guys. And what's also cool is that they can reproduce to make more. Many poison dart frogs are generally carrying their newly hatched tadpoles in their canopies, and the tadpoles stick to the mucus on their backs of their parents. Talk about being a little clingy, am I right? Nice. Moving along, number 2, Mantillidae. Mantillidae look almost like lemons, and lemons are one of my favorite fruits because you can use them to make lemonade, and everyone knows what you're supposed to do if life hands you lemons. That's right, make lemonade. Belonging to the Animalia chordata amphibia anura neurobacteria Mantillidae, Mantillidae are crazy because they are the most diverse frog family that exist in Madagascar, as mentioned earlier, which is off of the southeast coast of Africa. These frogs, when in captivity, are so popular in the exotic pet trade due to their bright colors. Their very, very distinct genetic lineage remains taxonomically undescribed, and as of May 3rd, 2016, 212 species are recognized in this family, which is even more than if there had only been 200 species recognized in that family. Moving on, but before we do get to what the number 1 frog is on this list, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't any. Now, number 1 frog on this list is the true frog. The true frog, belonging to the Animalia chordata verbata amura neurobacteria rhinoloid rhinidide, is a pretty ugly boy, but it's also the truest boy because it's the true frog. And you know that if it's the true frog, it is the true frog, which means that it has to be number 1, thus giving it the number 1 spot on this list. I believe, very, very, very rightfully earned. The true frog has these little black splotches on its body, similar to the frog that we discussed a little bit ago, and it's green looking, but also a bit brown looking. I believe that this is so it blends in with the ground. And when it can blend in with the ground, it probably will be harder for any of its predators to attack it, making it be able to live longer in the wild. If you have a favorite frog that unfortunately did not make it into my top 10 list, please let me know down below and I'll make sure to have a look at it. Maybe I can amend this list in the future video. Who knows? Also, if you have any topics that you'd like me to talk about in a future video, please also let me in the comments down below. No. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel and have a good feed day. Goodbye.